Brad Marchand to Toronto. That's a spicy meatball. And who better to bring in than Bryan Hayes to discuss the potential of it all. So right now, if he does get traded, it's looking like he'll go to the West, but he's still available. So let's discuss. Could he be a good fit in Toronto, and how much of a push should they make, Hazy B?
I think he'd be a good fit anywhere, Lindsay. I think Brad Marchand, everything he represents, there isn't a playoff team, a cup contending team in the league that couldn't make sense of putting him in the lineup, right? He could play first line, second line, maybe this late in his career, depending on where he's going to play. Maybe he's on the third line, but he will have an impact wherever he goes, just based on the nature of who he is. And yes, he's recovering from an injury, but he's going to get back. He's going to be at 100% well before the playoffs. And my answer to should the Leafs make it uncomfortable for Boston, because like you referenced, the reporting's been out there, maybe he goes to the West. Yes, I would make it uncomfortable. Until he gets traded, he's still available. If I'm Brad Treliving, this is an ingredient that this Maple Leaf team simply does not have. And I've been saying this for years when it comes to the Maple Leafs. Their core players, they all have the exact same disposition. They all are wired the exact same way. Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, John Tavares. They show very little emotion regardless of the scenario, right? And there are positives to that, but I don't think it's a positive when everyone is wired the same way. You can't tell if it's game one of the regular season or game 7 of a cup final. They just go about their business the same way. Brad Marchand, you know exactly what he is. He's a spark plug. He's going to play with emotion. He's going to give very different ingredients. So yes, I would be all in on that. I would do what I can to make it very uncomfortable in Boston, because you know they don't want to trade him to Toronto. Right? That's, I think, why they'd be looking west.
Yeah.
But there's also a scenario here where you get a guy like Brad Marchand, you bring him in, he's a free agent at the end of the year, you make him comfortable. Maybe he's got a future beyond this year too, right?
Okay, but I have to ask the follow-up, because sure, maybe Marchand brings a little spice to season up the meal and the flavors, but we obviously know the history here. He is the instigator. He's the agitator. He's the guy everyone kind of loves to hate.
Yeah.
How hard do you think it would be for Toronto Maple Leafs fans to embrace Marchand and see him in a Maple Leafs jersey?
I think they'd embrace him immediately.
Instantly, off the hop?
I think because of the nature of the market, it's a very sophisticated hockey market. It's a smart hockey market. And I think Leaf fans are aware that you hate a guy because he's wearing the other colors and because of what he's done. And Marchand's as easy as it gets to hate, in terms of a fan, right? In terms of sports hate, Brad Marchand is the poster boy for that. But he's a classic. You love him if he's on your team, hate him if he's on the opposition. And Leaf fans have been used to that, over the last 30 years. There's been a lot of players like that have worn different jerseys, and then they've come to town, and it's like, man, I love this guy, right? And I think you would love Brad Marchand because of his history, because of his pedigree, because of his winning, because of the way he'd interact with the media, interact with the fan base, and you'd be taking him from Boston. So in a weird way, you'd be breaking the hearts of Bruins fans. I think Leaf fans would embrace that greatly.
Probably. And hey, if he's wearing blue and white but licking someone else's face, maybe they'll feel differently about it all.
Exactly. That's a great way of putting it. If he's licking and biting and doing everything else to other people, I think Leaf fans can get behind that.
You can cheer it on. Well, 1,090 games for Boston. We'll see. Hey, maybe he could notch a few for the Maple Leafs. Time will tell.